So I'm undertaking a project, which is a property that I've bought with my new wife. And it is going to be, I want it to be a place to take my desire to the next step. And I'm looking...
Let's speak that a little differently just to get a strong basis. I've been on my way to something for a while, and I'm being called to this. And now it's coming to fruition. And it's a piece of property that has the potential of satisfying so many things. Let's just set the basis right there.
It has so much potential. I'm taking in all of the things in my past that have been positive things, and they're all seem to be coming together into this, what is forming into something that hasn't manifested yet, and I'm just excited to see what's becoming. And
well, we liked your present tense statement about it. You're feeling enough of the forming of it that you're speaking of it as it is, and that's a very good place to be.
Yes, I feel there's very little resistance. There's been challenges, but we're getting right through them.
So just watch your words and watch your attention and stay on this end of the stick as much as you can. So is this conversation, is the desire for this interaction in order to find a faster way to accomplish it, or to savor the idea of it? Because that's what this new place that we're discovering today really is about. It's about you being willing to reach for an idea that you can savor and not need the idea to translate this red hot minute into something that's tangible. If you can make that jump, if feeling good with the idea is good with you, then you will be unlimited forevermore, and more will manifest, and you'll have garages to put it in. It's not all cars, but if this conversation is about turning the thoughts to the things because you want the things and you don't feel very good without the things, then it's a whole different conversation. Which do you think it is?
It's not that there's no feelings of lack or that I don't have
then
something.
Proceed.
So where I'm going with this is I want to create a place for entrepreneurs to become entrepreneurs. I'm an entrepreneur. I've been gifted with a lot of background, family, entrepreneurs, and I would like to create a retreat, create a place where people can come. A
place who could come for a week and get a vibrational foothold that is so strong that when they go back out into the world and they check reality, that it doesn't throw them off their game. Well, we think that's a really good idea.
That's what I want to do. So I want to continue that. And
the question that we have to you, and someday you will be able to say this to them, you know, there was a time, in fact quite a bit of time, that I dreamed about us all being here, but I didn't need us to be here to get my juices flowing. The dream sustained me, and I honestly think the dream could have sustained me indefinitely, but a dream that is sustaining you in a way that feels indefinite must produce results, and you're the results that produced. Did you get that? That's the story you'll tell them. One day I'll say to them, I dreamed about you all for a long time, and I didn't need you to show up because the dream felt so good. When I wanted to feel good, I just dreamed this dream of all of us here. I saw your success before I even saw your faces. I knew the power of my knowledge and how it would enliven and enlighten you. I knew that if I had some time that I could spend with you, that my certainty about this would inspire a certainty within you that would serve you very well. And I knew it before it happened, and because I knew it before it happened, it could happen. And that's the conversation I'm having with all of you here today. We're going to talk about your dreams, but we're not going to need them to happen in order to feel good about the dreams we're dreaming together.
And I don't need any old sticks to get in my way.
Yeah.
That's it.
Really good.
That's it.
This is a really good time for a segment of refreshment. For Esther, for a while, it was her treehouse. Now, her treehouse is a real tangible thing. It stands there. But when she thinks of the treehouse often, she goes to the thoughts about it before it was standing there. And she remembers coming on this 40-acre property. And Jerry and Esther were walking around, and a lot of it is big oak trees, and a lot of it is cedar trees, and a lot of it is just a lot of brush. And so they were making their way around it, sort of trying to decide, it's a big piece of property, where do we want a light? And there was one particular place that was sort of a little green pasture, and Jerry had said to Esther, "Ooh, this place feels so good." And so they thought that would be the place that they would start to build their buildings. And one day after the building was built, Jerry said to Esther, "Let's ask Abraham why we built the building here and why this place felt so good." He said, "Was it because there were happy people that lived here before and we could feel them, so we just wanted to put our buildings where they had been?" Because the property looked undeveloped, and it was. And when he asked us that question, we said, "No, you were the happy people you were feeling. You were dreaming into your future. You were sensing what was to be, but you didn't have the ability to know you were looking forward. So you assumed you were looking back. You assumed that there must be something back there that I was picking up on." So when Esther thinks about the treehouse, you would like it if you could see it. It's 3 stories and there's a switchback. Esther was going to climb a rope ladder, and Jerry talked her out of it and built some switchbacks. He said, "I can see you on the rope ladder. I just can't see you with your computer and your on the ladder." And so they stepped into this ring of trees. There were 6 of them in this particular rather small ring of trees. And Jerry said, "This would be a wonderful place for a tree house." And Esther had always wanted a tree house, thought she was too old to care about a tree house. And now Jerry is dreaming about a tree house. And as Esther stood there, she could feel the tree house. And she said, "How far into the trees would it be?" And Jerry would say, "Way up there." And Esther said, "How far?" And Jerry said, "Well, let's go get a ladder and we'll climb up in the tree, and then you can get a look of it from in the tree." And so he got the tallest ladder that he could find. They put it on the top of the car, drove it over with both of them putting their hands on and put the ladder up in the tree. And Esther climbed the ladder, and she thought she was so far up in the tree. Now when she's standing in the treehouse, she looks down to where the top of that ladder was, but it felt so far up. And then they began dreaming about it. Esther said, "What will it be like?" And Jerry said, "What do you want it to be like?" And Esther said, "I want it to be really tall." And Jerry said, "Well, how tall do you want it to be?" And Esther said, "As far up as we can make it." And Jerry said, "Do you want to nail it to the trees?" And Esther said, "No, let's not nail it to any of the trees. Let's make it a free-standing structure." And Jerry said, "Then we'll need some big poles in the ground." And Esther said, "How will we put the poles in the ground?" And Jerry said, "We'll need to get some cranes. We'll need a crane and some really long poles." And so Esther is imagining really long poles, and she's imagining a crane putting the really long poles into the ground. And then she's imagining the poles being, so there were 6 big poles put into the ground, 40 feet tall. And then they built the bottom floor. And then Jerry said, "Now what do you want? And now what do you want? And now what do you want?" So they just dreamed it into being. And it is the dreaming of that treehouse into being that rings Esther's bells, not the actual structure standing there now. She remembers the feeling of something that wasn't there, but she could feel it as if it was. That's what we're talking about. And think what was attached to that, a feeling of whimsy. There was no practical purpose in the whole world for this. This was not an office building. This was not a studio. This was not a place that served any practical purpose. This was not something that Esther and Jerry were doing for any other reason other than it felt really fun to think about it, about a tree house, a playhouse. Are you getting what we're talking about? And so for years, ever since then, that treehouse was erected in 1996 or 1997. That's about the time that they were beginning the process of it. And all of those years, when Esther thinks about the treehouse, you know where she goes? To the dream of the treehouse, to the dream of it when it was pure, when it was clear, when there was no resistance whatsoever around it. Are you getting the idea? And so, what was the purpose of the treehouse? What purpose does the treehouse serve? Can you think of what purpose it might serve?
To light you up.
To dream. To dream. One day, Jerry and Esther were in Asheville, North Carolina, and they were staying in their bus, and there was a family staying in a bus next door. And Jerry, especially Jerry, because he was out where they were, he got talking to them and got to know them and really liked them, and they really liked him. And they came into the bus. They liked to see the bus. The bus was a really beautiful bus. And then they were homeschooling, and he gave them the Sarah books, which are part of this work. It's a fictional story about all these truths, about a giant owl on Thacker's Trail, and about a treehouse. And so he gave the books to the children, and a few months later he got a letter from the family that they were coming through the San Antonio area and they would like to come to see the treehouse. And Esther and Jerry said, yes, we would be happy to meet you. We'll have lunch together and we'll show you our treehouse, and brace yourself because this is a really important thing for you to feel. So the children went up into the treehouse, and the youngest one began to cry because this treehouse did not look like the treehouse in the book. She had dreamed a much better treehouse. And it is an awesome treehouse, but she had dreamed the treehouse in the book. She had seen herself flying on the ropes. Esther and Jerry looked at each other. They said, never again will we invite someone to the treehouse without explaining that it's not